are so fortunate to have such an amazing, okay. Oh, my book is too heavy for this. And my eyes need this a little closer. So let's see what we can do with this. I think I'll put this over here for now. Good morning. I'm feeling especially grateful this morning to be with you on this first Sunday in a new year. 2025 has arrived, and we are dressing up and showing up and being ready for whatever comes our way. Whatever comes our way. This is a new year, a new theme. We have new talk titles to go through and different ideas to share with you. And our global theme for 2025 is rising higher, growing deeper. Rising higher, growing deeper. Last year we had a grand rising, and this year we're going to rise even higher, and we're going to grow deeper. I had, there's a lot that goes into this hour that you see on Sunday mornings. We have so many volunteers that are involved. We have an amazing music program, our beautiful and beloved music minister, the volunteers that do hospitality, the media team, our amazing decor that happens and gets decorated by our wonderful volunteer who does all of that. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and the details and putting one foot in front of the other, and sometimes it can be very formulaic or robotic, right? You get lost in the details. And I had somebody come up to me this morning and share their enthusiasm. I can't wait to hear the new theme. And then they looked at me and said, because these themes have changed my life. And that just brought me back to a place within my heart, to step away from all the details, all the orchestration that goes into doing these amazing talks and the music and all that, and to come right back to that place of being centered and grounded in spirit. That this time that we spend together is so much more than, what is that saying? The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. Did I say that backwards? The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. Like, there's so much that goes into this, and yet we're here so that we can rise higher, we can grow deeper, we can take this philosophy to its next level. So it is January, and for the last easily 17 years, I've been a minister for 17 years now, I have gone over the first 4 chapters in the Introduction to the Science of Mind textbook. This book that was so heavy it took our music stand down. It is chock full of wisdom. And the first 4 chapters give us an opportunity to drop back into our foundation, to look at the philosophy, and to really begin to get a sense, or to recall a sense, of the basic building blocks of this philosophy. So I was thinking as I came here this morning, it's been 17 years for me. Every January I look at these first 4 chapters. How many of you have heard the January talks for 5 years or more? Every January, yeah. Yeah, well, you know what I'm going to say. I'm done. No. No, and how many of you would agree with me, you don't have to raise your hands for this one, but how many of you would agree with me that there's always something new, some layer, some newness that can come to us as we begin to look at the foundational building blocks of this amazing philosophy? Like, there's some real meat here to our philosophy. And so as we look at this idea of rising higher and growing deeper, we're going to be also looking at a book that I'll weave in throughout the year called Emergent Strategy. And that is really about a framework for how to navigate change when everything around us is feels like it's moving and shaking and changing and becoming different. We're in transition or transformation, or something's dying or something's rebirthing. When we're moving through all that, there is some consistency. And that consistency is the thing itself. And I just want to read a little bit. We'll spend 2025 moving away from binary thinking. Maybe you've heard that term, binary thinking, before. It's really a 2025 version of duality. Binary thinking is the same as duality. It's on, off, us, them, either or. But when we're working with this idea of emergence, we're really looking at how unity and how that oneness is coming through any change that we're experiencing. So the author of this month's themes goes on to say, we're opening ourselves to the both and embracing the paradoxes and complexities that exist today. This holistic approach acknowledges that true wholeness requires integrating all aspects of life. All aspects of life, and he goes on to say very succinctly and plainly, there's so much God to consider. When we are walking through life, there is just so much God to consider. Now, when you're in the grocery store and you're looking for ingredients for a casserole, you're probably not thinking about God, but the fact is that the ingredients that you're looking for, the shelves that hold your ingredients, the checker who takes your money, the money that comes in your pocket, all that you've experiencing is an expression of the divine. Everything is imbued with it, and it's so easy for us to get caught in the details. And really what is our calling to do is to, just like our theme, rising higher and growing deeper, is to see everything from a little bit of a higher perspective so that we can see the God in it, so that we can really begin to see the bigger picture. And so today's theme, or actually this whole month's theme, is stretching into possibility. Stretching into possibility. And what we're doing is working with the basic building blocks of this philosophy and looking at them. And this kind of reminds me of bread making. I've been doing a lot of bread making the last couple of months, and I've learned a lot about it. I've never really been a bread maker, but I thought let's be adventurous and check it out. And if you think about it, it's really just flour and water and salt. That's all bread is. And you can add different ingredients to it to give it a little bit of a different flavor, but it's still bread. And the thing that brings the bread alive is the yeast. It is the yeast that is the glue that makes the flour and the water and the salt come together in such a way that we have bread. And so the yeast is the thing itself. We have this, the fundamentals of our philosophy are the science of mind trinity. The science of mind trinity. The thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and then how to use it. And so Holmes writes, and if you're, just because sometimes I get so lost in so deep in our teaching, maybe you don't know who Holmes is. So Ernest Holmes is the founder of this philosophy. And he would if he was here today, he would tell you that he's a synthesizer. And what that means is that he studied all the world's religions that he could get his hands on, and he synthesized them into this philosophy. So we have the aspects of Vedic tradition and Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity and Judaism and all the different spiritual paths that you can consider. And he wrote a book called The Science of Mind. And in that book he writes, every great religion and every great spiritual philosophy has taught this Trinity. Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost is the Christian Trinity. Our Trinity is our law, and what it does is the result, manifestation. So when we look at this idea of absolute cause, absolute law, and absolute manifestation, we're talking about what sometimes I rephrase as the creative process. And the thing itself is the topic of today. The thing itself is the very thing that moved that person who came to me this morning to share with me how the themes have changed their life, that opened my heart in just the way it needed to be opened. It is the thing that knows exactly how the grass grows, right? I love to say that. That's my favorite personal quote. Made it up myself. The thing that makes the grass grow is my favorite name for God. And it's my favorite name for God because while we can choose what kind of grass we want to grow, while we can actually go to the effort of creating a space for that lawn, to planting the seeds, we don't make it grow. We can nurture it and cultivate it. But there is a thing intrinsic in all life that causes things to grow and change and transition and morph. Our part is to be directive because its part, the thing itself, just wants to move through life by means of us. Now that can feel a little daunting. Suddenly you have some responsibility here. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. That responsibility is not a heavy burden because the thing itself, the very thing that breathes your body, that has designed these human instruments that we call our body temples, has designed it in such a way that you don't have to tell your lungs when to breathe, you don't have to tell your heart when to beat, you don't even have to tell yourself how to walk. Like your body has its own innate intelligence, which has been divinely designed by the thing itself. And so Holmes talks to us in the first chapter of the introduction about the thing itself. And he breaks it down. He talks about how the universe never plays favorites. It's sort of like it's going to make whatever seeds you plant grow. It's not going to say, well, that blade of grass, yeah. That blade of grass, no, it's not going to grow. It doesn't play favorites. It simply takes this idea of growth, and when we make way for it, growth happens. Growth happens by us, through us, as us, and in us. But we aren't the ultimate cause of it. The ultimate cause of it is this thing that we call spirit, God. You could call it whatever, science. The thing itself is the very energy that makes the stars stay in the sky and the earth orbit the sun. And it's the same thing that we work with when we work with the pattern of our thinking to change our experience. He goes on to say that we are not working, he talks about how we're not working with, no, that's a typo. He tells us how we're working with a unified field of creativity. A unified field of creativity. A field of creativity that wants to express itself by means of us. The only way God can know this reality is by means of each one of you, by means of me, by means of every individual on this planet. And that's why we have such a variety of opinions and lifestyles and likes and dislikes, because Spirit is imbued us with the possibility of all things. It's our job to look at that creativity, and that's next week's talk when we talk about the way it works. But right now, what I want you to try to get in touch with is the very thing, the very energy, the very heart of life that is 100% within you. There was a wonderful book that somebody gave me this year called Wholehearted Living, and they have a daily reader, and I want to share this with you because it's such a great reminder. Potentiality of possibility. And the author talks about that spirit is in everything, and unbroken, undivided, cannot express in fragments, only in wholeness. And the part that I underlined in this reading is the part I want to share with you, where the author says the good news is that whatever you might be working on improving in your life, right now, its perfect expression is just waiting on your realization of its as your reality. So our hopes, our dreams, our intentions, all of those things that may seem far off and away from us already exist completely in the thing itself. And so the thing itself is simply waiting for us to give it a runway, if you will. We're always on the path of creativity. We're always on the path of expression. And our work is to be conscious of it, to connect with it, to remember it, to recall it, to make it real. You can shut down and, get lost in your details and your math and your laundry list and your housekeeping and your job and your career and all those things. You can do that, but spirit is still moving and expressing by means of you, whether you're conscious of it or not. And it is a lot more productive and successful when we can be really conscious that we're working with the same amazing power that makes the earth rotate around the sun. The same amazing power that causes the tides to ebb and flow, that takes oxygen, the simple compound of oxygen that we breathe in. I want you to really think about this. There's a divine design that knows what molecules your body needs to refresh itself, to continue to rejuvenate itself, and what molecules you don't need. And it takes it in through your breath and puts it into your bloodstream, into I think there's 8 miles of blood vessels and arteries that run through your body that feed your organs. And then your blood vessels accept the things that those organs and muscles and tendons no longer need, and you breathe out. And it all happens like that. It's freaking amazing. There's my favorite, very well-known quote that is often misquoted, and I love to correct it, is that there's a power greater than you, and you can use it. And it's all often quoted as there's a power for good in the universe, and you can use it. And they forget that greater than you piece. And that's the awe of the thing itself. The thing itself that gives us the ability to work with its own divine design and nature, that it can move through us. God's nature is our nature. That's what we're looking at today, that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm, that there is a divine pattern that has its fingerprint on all life. It has its fingerprint on you, exactly as you are. There are no mistakes. There are no exceptions. There is just an individuated experience of God by means of you. And sometimes those individuated experiences, sometimes I don't like them. Sometimes I have experiences that are unlovely or painful or difficult. And this is the beauty of this philosophy, because we can have our experiences, we can feel our feelings, and then we can reclaim our power in any situation. That is the power of this philosophy. We are empowered that we can move through any experience, and we can give it some direction, and we can have some agency, because the thing itself, it'll manifest itself in $1 or a $100 bill. It'll manifest itself in a little or a lot. It has no preference. It takes its cue from your thought patterns. And so there's an unlimited, absolutely limitless power that is available to all of us. And sometimes we get lost in the duality of it all. So there's a place in here where Holmes talks about And the subtitle of this section is There Are Not Two Minds, Only Two Names. And so sometimes we think of, and it's really easy. I do it too, despite my, years of practicing this philosophy. I get into this dualistic place where I see, here's Alice, and there's God. But they're the same. They're absolutely the same. Reverend Judy brought to us last month and last year, that wonderful Rumi quote that you are not just a drop in the ocean, you are all of the ocean in a drop. And that's what Holmes wants us to know about the thing itself, that this thing itself, you are not all of God, but all of God is in you. And so when we can remember that, this idea of having agency and taking responsibility and paying attention to our thoughts and the patterns that we create, all of that becomes easier because you're not doing it on your own. You're not off in the corner trying to figure it out. Now, I don't know about you, but the culture that I live in, they tell me that all the time, that it's up to me, that I have to figure it out, that I have to pull myself up from my bootstraps, that I have to struggle and have to make things happen. And I keep buying that flavor of ice cream over and over again, and then I'll take a taste of it and I'm like, oh, this is not right. It makes life harder when we forget that there is a thing that is moving through us. And so Holmes writes this, and he refers to the thing itself as mind. And he says, mind comes under two classifications. There are not two minds, but rather two names employed in describing states of consciousness. He goes on to say, we think of the conscious state as our conscious use of mind, the subconscious, as sometimes called the unconscious state, that part of mind which is set in motion as a creative thing by the conscious state. But then he's trying to help us understand that it is the thoughts that are. So I can't sit here and say, I want $1 million. So I had a thought, where's my million? Right? Where's my million? I want the love of my life to show up and knock on my door. I don't just sit down and sit in my dining room waiting for the person to knock on my door. I cultivate the consciousness that makes that available. And the thing itself just says yes, and yes, and yes again. And when I cultivate the consciousness that makes things available to me, what I tend to run into are the little roadblocks of old ideas, old thought patterns that I have taken on unconsciously. And so that's the work that we have to make ourselves available to the creative process, to the thing itself that wants to experience life as each one of us. We are never denied anything. We are the only thing that gets in the way of the divine expressing by means of us. And I don't mean that to say, if you've got a diagnosis or you've got some heartbreak or you've got some difficulty financially, I am not saying that you're to blame. I'm just saying it can be different. And it can be different if you choose it to be different. But it takes, for our peace of God that we keep in our heart and our consciousness and our mind, it needs care and feeding. Because if you don't take care of if you just walk through life absently, you're just going to get the default answer of whatever's going on in the consciousness of all the people around you. This thing itself is so powerful, so present within each one of you. And I don't need any music for this. I know John Henry's like, should I come up? I don't need any music for this just now. Yes, and Allendale come up here. So take a moment and focus on your breath and lower your gaze. Close your eyes. Feel the support of the chair beneath you. Feel your feet on the floor, how solid the ground is, right where you sit. And focus on your breath. And take a deep, slow inhalation through your nose, allowing your breath to fill your lungs completely. And then gently exhale through your mouth, letting go of any tension. Inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. I invite you to do that a couple more times at your own pace and rhythm. And then bringing your awareness to your body, feeling the back of the chair supporting your back, feeling the pressure of your legs on the chair, feeling your own weight and how it's supported. And being present with all of this, knowing there's nothing you need to do, but just be. And then I invite you to hold your hands in front of you and squeeze your fists. It's like we're going to hold energy for a minute. A moment, actually, not a full minute. And take another inhalation and exhalation. And then release your hands. And just notice the energy you feel. That there's a slight movement. It's involuntary. You're not making it happen. It's just there. And as you continue to breathe, I invite you to bring your attention to your thoughts. We've paid attention to the physical. Now bring your attention to your thoughts. And notice what may be passing through your mind. Maybe you're feeling some concern about something. Maybe you're wondering where Dr. Alice is going with this. Maybe you're just having a sense of being in the moment, physically and mentally and spiritually. And as you increase your awareness in this moment, notice that you are not alone. That there are people before you, behind you, next to you. The consciousness, the thing itself, has embodied itself in each individual here in this room. In each individual who might be watching. We may feel like there's space between us, but we are divinely connected. And as you take one more deep breath together, inhaling peace, and exhaling any remaining tension, I invite you to bring your awareness back to the room and to Allendale as they lead us in a chant.
Thank you, Dr. Alice. This is a song from the Baha'i Faith with the same message.
O son of being, busy not thyself with this world, but with fire we test the gold, and with gold we test our servants. O son of being, busy Busy not thyself with this world, but with fire we test the gold, and with gold we test our servants.
Oh, Son of being, oh, Son of being. Oh, Son of being, oh, Son of being.
Thou art my lamp, and my light is in thee. Get thou from it thy radiance, and seek none other than me. Thou art my lamp, and my light is in thee. Get thou from it thy radiance, and seek none other than me. For I have created thee rich, and have bountifully shed my favor upon thee, upon thee.
For I have created thee rich, and have bountifully shed my favor upon thee,
Upon thee, upon thee. O Son of being, O Son of being. O Son of being, O Son of being.
So join me in this affirmative prayer, this spiritual mind treatment, in this space that we have created together of unity, of a sense of oneness. We know that that creative power, the thing that makes the grass grow, we can feel it right here, right where we are, right where we sit, right where we may be at home. And so as we acknowledge the presence, as we acknowledge that holy place within ourselves, we also acknowledge it all around us. And we take a moment of gratitude, of awe, of all the potential that a new year brings for us. As we step into 2025, I know for each one of us, our divine connection to each other, that emergent energy that is simply saying yes to our hearts and our minds. And I know for ourselves, we acknowledge that one creative life force that wants to experience life by means of us. And we welcome it. We welcome it into our hearts and into our minds. We welcome it into our experiences. We welcome it to make the way forward where we see no way possible. For in this unified experience of the divine, anything is possible. So we embrace the pure possibility of the year ahead. We surrender to change and transition, to things that feel different, for we know this is energy transmuting itself into newness. And so we trust Spirit as we put one foot in front of each other, one step at a time, one day at a time, walking into this new year with hope, with the knowing that all things are possible, and that together we are supported in all things expected and unexpected. So it is with a grateful heart that I acknowledge this beautiful community, each individual here who has said yes to the divine as their own expression, and has said yes to the divine as it shows up in different expressions, so that we can see God in the both and the and. And I simply let this go. I know that Spirit is in charge. It simply supports, it gives of itself. And so if you will, in your mind, say after me, I accept, I receive, and so it is.